Hey everybody, my name is Nick Wong and I lead the integrations team here at Paragon, and I wanted to talk to you folks about some new updates to the NetSuite authentication strategy. So I quickly wanted to go over how to migrate from client credentials or authorization code to the new client credentials with user certificates. And the goal here is to provide longer lasting tokens to prevent your users from having to reconnect to the NetSuite integration. So let's jump in. So here I am in the Paragon dashboard. This is the integration settings for NetSuite, and I currently have it set to client credentials. In this setup, the one that we're moving away from, your users were providing consumer keys and secrets coming from NetSuite. And now what we want to do is change this to client credentials with user certificates. We're going to click on Save. And what we're going to see in the Connect portal is the customer or your user will continue to provide a consumer key for the application, but they will also provide some additional details like a certificate ID and a private key. These details are certificates that your end user will have to generate in order to sign the JWTs that we'll be using to authenticate these requests. So now I can jump into kind of what your user will see or will have to do in order to get this to work. All right, so now I'm in NetSuite on behalf of one of your users to simulate what they will have to do in order to set up the integration. So let's first go to Setup, Integrations, Manage Integrations, and New. And let's create a new sample application. So let's say Test Machine-to-Machine Client Credentials. We're going to keep all of these things the same up here. We're going to uncheck this authorization flow box, as well as token-based authentication, as well as authorization code grant, and we will enable client credentials machine-to-machine grant, and we will want REST web services. So let's click on those things, and let's click on Save. Now we will be provided with the application ID, as well as the consumer key and client ID and secret. So let me just copy these values over really quickly to a notes page I have open. Great. So once we've created the integration record, we'll now have to create a user certificate. So let's go to Integration and OAuth 2.0 Client Credentials M2M Setup. We're going to want to create a new setup here, and let me show you how this is done. So NetSuite provides a couple different ways to generate the certificate. Currently, right now, we're supporting the RSA way to generate the certificate. So let's copy this code that's provided from NetSuite in their docs, and I've also added an expiry of 730 days or 2 years to this certificate. So in your terminal, or in your command line, we're going to want to use OpenSSL and basically paste this guy in here. This is going to create a new token. We can kind of leave some of these things blank. We'll add some details there. And now we should have a public key and a private key. And we're going to use these back in the rest of the setup. So now back in NetSuite, an admin user will need to go and click on their entity as well as the role. Then for application, we're going to want to use the one that we just created, which was test M2M client credentials. And for the certificate here, we want to upload the public key. So let's go to keys, and let's go to public. We're going to want to give this one a shot and click on save. Great, and as you can see, we've added an additional row down here. Cool. So now we're going to need to copy the certificate ID. So this is your user clicking and copying the certificate ID. So as you can see, we created this here, and this shall expire in 2026. So this is another value that I'm going to keep for myself. Great. So now that we've connected, created these integration records, let's go back to Paragon, and let's complete this connection flow. So your user will now have to take all of these values that they've generated and enter these into the Connect portal. So here's my NetSuite account ID, the consumer key for my application, the certificate ID that we just generated, and now the user will have to upload their private key. So let's click on this, click on private, and open. Then continue. And great, now we're connected, and now you can authenticate the different requests within the Paragon workflow editor. Great, so we can expect these access tokens behind the scenes to last for 1 hour, and then Paragon will request new ones into as long as those certificates are valid. Great, I hope this helps. Thank you so much.